First, let me give you a kind of an overview about Muslims because a lot of people ask me, John, who are those Muslims in America? Who are those Muslims in our neighborhood? And whenever I answer, tell them that there's two types of Muslims in America. I'm going to call, the first type, those who are on the defensive, and the second type, those who are on the offensive. The first type, I'm going to call it defensive pacifist Muslims, and the second type is the offensive activist Muslims. The defensive Muslims are mainly ethnic Muslims who somehow assumed a melting pot mentality by adopting the culture of their new land the minute they got here. Now, the offensive Muslims are those who cling to traditional Islam by creating communities similar to the communities from their own background. Now, from the standpoint of typical America, the acceptance of cultural and religious pluralism within the general American society is commendable. To live undisturbed and to let others live undisturbed is the essence of American liberty. But from the standpoint of Islamic theology, such an attitude is technically unacceptable. I don't know how many of you know that during the days of Muhammad, Muslims divided the world in two categories. They called the first one is the house of peace, Dar as-Salam, that's in Arabic, and the second part is the house of war. Now, every geographical location where Sharia law, the Islamic law, is supreme, that is the house of peace. And every geographical location where Sharia law is not supreme, that's considered to be the house of war, or Dar al-Harb in Arabic again. Now, the goal of offensive Muslims is to change the house of war into house of peace. What I'm going to say is really critical because if we remain different, about what's taking place in our background, this is going to affect all of us. And why I'm saying this, if we remain different about the presence of Muslims in the United States, why this could be problematic for us. Or Islam only allow for a Muslim to live in the house of peace, where Sharia law is supreme. The Muslim is to reside in the house of peace. He cannot reside in the house of war because Sharia law does not allow for this to happen. Sharia law, Islamic law, does not allow for a Muslim to live in the house of war. Let me ask you, anybody know, let's say, living here in the United States, is this the house of peace or this is considered to be the house of war? It's the house of war because Sharia law is not supreme. But Sharia, Islamic law, does, however, allow three exceptions for this general rule. A Muslim can live in the house of war if he or she is involved in business transaction, political representation, and the third one is missionary work. Now, the latter is of greater significance for pacifist Muslims. Why? Because offensive Muslims often recruit from among the pacifist Muslims by appealing to the fact in order to live in conformity with Sharia, they have to adopt the identity of a missionary. Only then their continuous residence in the house of war can be justified by taking part in dawah. And dawah is missionary work, either permanently or occasionally. Only then the requirement of the law, Sharia law, can be satisfied. Those who are involved in missionary work are students coming from countries like Saudi Arabia or Pakistan, and those are the ones who later on founded the Islamic Society of North America, which their main ministry is to mobilize Muslim communities to spread Islam within the general American society by means of literature publication and distribution, also prison ministry like the one I saw in jail downtown Dallas, and also to be involved in an informal and formal debate with adherents of other religions and mainly Christians. Now, until recently, the Western world was closed to the Muslim world. But now circumstances are taking a different turn. Muslims are migrating to America in a steady stream from the East or from different lands and for different reasons. Now, many are trying to fathom the implication of this new situation, but we who have the mind of Christ can see the whole matter in a different light. To us, the world of Islam has been brought to the feet of the church in the Christian world. For the first time, we see considerable number of Muslims have become our neighbors, co-workers, fellow citizens. But not only so, it seems that in a very short time, in a very significant way, they are letting go, they are quitting their Oriental culture, their Islamic culture and their way of life, and in a very short time has become thoroughly Westernized. For the first time, we have a new kind of Muslims called the Westernized Muslims. And by the hand of God, a wide door has been flung wide open at the feet of the Christian church in the West. Never an opportunity has presented itself to the church to evangelize this type of Muslims. And I believe the Christian church has a far greater opportunity to evangelize this branch of Muslims rather than taking on the whole tree. Why I'm saying that? Because many Muslim lands are deliberately closed to the gospel, and while others are so far from predominant cultural influences that a widespread, effective evangelism is inconceivable. But I believe here in the West, God has opened a new door to the Muslim world. Here, large number of Christians can be involved in ministry that for the last 1400 years, since the inception of Islam, has not been possible. An opportunity has been laid down at the feet of the Christian church, never had it before. It had become possible for a large number of Christians to witness to Muslims, establish relationship and pursue them over a long period of time. And there's no need for a lengthy time of training to reach out to them. Just a seminar like this one, sometimes it could be enough. Just taking one course in the seminary, it could be enough to have an understanding of Muslims and how to reach out to them. Now, language barriers are breaking down. Also, cultural gaps are being bridged, and the Muslims are becoming our neighbors. The circumstances are ripe to form a new kind of ministry to the Muslim people. Now, if the church will recognize the opportunity that God has graciously bestowed on it, and if Christians will assume the burden of befriending and evangelizing Muslims that we start to see in all walks of life, then we will perhaps see a work of the Holy Spirit in the work of the Muslim people and turning to faith in Jesus Christ. Until recently, it was hardly possible. Now, this is the state of Muslims in the United States. These are the types of Muslims in the United States. The majority of them are defensive. They come here to assume a melting pot mentality. They want to aspire for good life. They ran away from all the persecution, from ISIS and everything, all the turmoil that's taking place in the Middle East and many other parts of the Muslim world. And they're aspiring to come and live in this country. And we have to be welcoming, in that sense, and to see this as an opportunity for the church to be involved in this kind of ministry.